Hey everyone, this is Jacques Laventour. I'm your wellness expert. We're at the Get Fit Eat Well series. I'm here with Miss Guru herself. This is Women's Empowerment Month, and we wanted to bring in experts from all around the world to share their personal experience. And I got a chance to spend some great time with Guru, and I wanted to invite her on. Are you there?
Hi. Yeah, I sure am.
Yes,
I was just going to say, my name's GuruNischan, actually, and it's funny because people will sometimes just call me Guru or just call me Nishan, thinking that Guru is a title, but actually GuruNischan is just my whole first name. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarity,
yeah, for
GuruNischan.
sure.
And so it's been a while since we've last really connected and had a conversation, and even last seen each other.
Yes, it's been several years. We were at the women's conference, I believe.
Yes, we are both, on the panel, really empowering women. I had less clothes at the time. I've now put on more clothes these past years.
Yes, you were wearing just an apron and your chef's gear. That's true. And I really loved the conference in general because it was just all about speaking about how we can be remarkable women and really show up in our full selves. And it's not just about being a remarkable woman, it's about being a remarkable person. Like, how do we show up fully in our fullest capacity to offer our greatness to the world, and it starts by feeling good inside of ourselves.
Yes, and this is great, and this is why I felt a need to bring an expert like yourself, because I was just admiring, listening to you talk, and how you've been able to really be in this space for so long, because I think people are now coming into this awakening. But, tell me about your experience, because you've been in this space for a very long time.
Yeah. What's interesting, I was born and raised in a Kundalini yoga community, so my name is actually my birth-given name. Oftentimes people think I made it up or gave it to myself, or like it's a self-created title. But my parents changed their names in the 70s, and I was just born and raised within a consciousness around health and how do we optimize the human experience? Like, how do we make this body the high-performance vehicle that it is? And the science I was raised with is all about optimizing the human experience. And as a child, you don't know that the whole world isn't getting this information. But as I grew up and being my own rebel spirit, I've traveled the world and lived in Africa and did a lot of kind of community-based work. And at some point, I got into entrepreneurship because I really wanted to create my own reality and be able to create revenue that could help me then create impact, and creating systems in which I could have the most amount of impact. And so being a teacher of wellness and health and being an entrepreneur in that space, I've always been very passionate to help people awaken to their capacity. And I see a lot of us just in the world, we don't understand how the human body works. And if we understood it, I think we'd maintain it a lot more.
Oh, man, yes. I love what you're saying. This is why I felt there was a need in this time to really bring you on, because, a lot of people, when they get all this information, it could be too much, overbearing. They're not ready for it. And, I was really hesitant to even talk about, this experience, because we've been programmed for a long time. And, I thought about presenting it through food and fitness, which is an easy sell, because, you can get people to come and try healthy food and be disciplined, and then they start having a self-awareness about themselves. But there's always more and more, and this is the time where the world is needing more experts that have been in the space for so long to help them, like you said, improve that human experience. So I would, if you could share with the audience about a few tips on how they can really amplify and perform this human experience that we're all having.
Yeah, so I think one of the most fundamental aspects is what you're talking about, that when we've been taught to think about our health, we've been led to believe that diet and exercise is enough, that we're this physical system, and if you eat right and you exercise, that equals health. And the truth is that's just not complete. It's not the whole story, because the human body is actually an electrical system. And just like a light bulb or just like a battery of your car, it has different currents. You have a positive and a negative current. Well, the human body, we have the left and the right hemisphere of our brain, and there's electrical pulses moving from the brain, from the heart, to make the physical body system work. And, you know, the audience doesn't have to believe me. We know this to be true, because if we go to the doctor, we're monitored in our brain and our heart waves through EKG machines, through electrical machines that are monitoring our electricity. So why is that important in the overall scheme of health? And the reason it's important is because if we know we're actually electrical, not just physical, then we have wires, and those wires have data or information, and those wires also have corrosion. And so if there's corrosion in our wiring, we're not going to be operating at our fullest transmission, so to speak.
Yes.
So the nervous system, the human nervous system, is the operating system of the human body. And if we're not fine-tuning and strengthening our nervous system, the operating system breaks down. And doesn't matter what diet you're on, doesn't matter what exercise regime you're on, because for a little while you're disciplined, it'll work. But as soon as you stop, it won't, because the wiring system is what's old. It's like running your phone on the old database. You know, and the new program you put in isn't going to be as effective if it's operating on an old 1980s operating system. So I think one of the key elements, it's super important, and one of the key elements here is starting to view ourselves as the machinery. Like, imagine yourself like your phone. Your phone has to be rebooted. Your phone has to be charged up regularly. And your phone actually has to have the latest updated softwares or operating systems. So is the human body. If we have old memories, old things that we haven't forgiven ourselves for, or others for, or grief, or resentments that we're holding on to, this stuff eventually shows up in our physical system. And the heaviness of our wiring can short circuit us, or it can accelerate us, and we can actually use the power of the electrical system of our body to increase our health, to increase our achievement. But we have to really understand how the wiring, like, what does our motherboard look like, so to speak? What are our triggers? What are our dials? And when we start to understand these concepts, we can literally rewire our whole system for next level experience.
Oh, yes. And this is the tie-in, because I, for a very long time, have been doing things that I was programmed to do in terms of, health and wellness and food. And, people, loved me for who I was, because that was my way of thinking. And then, as I evolve, because you're always evolving, you change your direction. And actually changing direction, again, propels you to the next experience. And so this call is really crucial, because with the newfound direction, I promise to listeners, I promise to people that are going to be watching, that we wanted to bring next level information. And while you're in the call, and you talked about wiring, you talked about recharge. And so I wanted to have listeners hear for yourself, because you've been in the space for so long, on what are the things, because, people want to hear, like, what are the things that they can do to recharge that battery and to really be in that space? Because, like you said, I can tell people about the food, I can tell about the workouts, but more importantly, they have to, tap into themselves, that inertia, that one thing, that power that's bigger than themselves to move. And now in 2018, we want to make sure that they are moving at an accelerating rate. Could you share with us how we can propel people to move at this accelerating rate?
Well, the most fundamental thing is that, we have to start training our nervous system to do what it's actually designed to do. Like, most people's nervous system is on a default setting or is off. And we have to understand the elements of how the nervous system works. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is the part of us that is action-oriented, doing, wants to create and be productive. But the other part of the nervous system is the left side of the body, or the right brain, and that is the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of us that receives, recharges itself, and regenerates itself. And so the reason we're seeing so much sickness, or these regimes not working for people, is because we're not getting the type of sleep where the body can then rewire itself or recharge itself. So what I teach, Jacques, is one of the best ways to activate the central nervous system is through breath. The human breath, when we start to really use the breath consciously with different techniques, what we can do is we can actually activate these natural regenerating systems. So the body knows how to heal itself, but it's not activated in its capacity to do so. And because there's so much dead weight that people are carrying, whether it's mental dead weight, emotional dead weight, or physical, actually heaviness in their physical body, these systems aren't activated, so to speak. So different breath exercises every day. I always say if you do 2 to 3 minutes of like a recharging breath, or a breath that'll shift the frequency so that you're setting your electrical frequency and you're ready to now interact with your day, it affects the system so much. Because if you think about it, we hear a lot about like presence practices, like be present, right?
Yeah.
But the only way that we're actually present is by focusing on the breath. It's the only thing here and now that's happening is the breath. So one of the things I'd put out to the listeners, one technique I'd offer is notice how often you don't even notice that you're breathing.
Yeah.
Because what we focus on is what expands. And so if we're not paying attention to the fundamental system that either heats us or cools us, energizes us or relaxes us, that breath system changes the internal system from the inside out. It makes us more available for every meeting, for every opportunity, for every endeavor. It makes us more present. And when we're present, we're here and we're available to the opportunities around us. And we can respond to our environment more effectively. Oftentimes, we're plugged into the past, or we're worried about the future. And you can tell that by noticing where your breath is. Usually the breath is frozen, or it's just very shallow from the chest.
Yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that was the biggest changer for me, because I remember the first time that I've sat down, years and years ago in California, and I had a guru there, and we were doing these breath exercises. And it made me feel so uncomfortable, and I quit because it was like, it was my first experience, and I was like, it really, like, my perception of these exercises wasn't important to me, because, that it was just foreign.
Yes.
And it was until I started swimming when I realized, wow, I can't believe that I had this experience that was so intense because of swimming, and I didn't realize that the swimming really was not because it was just deprivation aspect of it, and also the fact that was in meditation, but I was aware of breathing.
Yes.
And it was the game changer for me.
You point out several gems in what you just said, and one is that when you first started doing this breath exercise, how uncomfortable it was. And that is such a significant thing to point out, that when we first start to do breath work, we're going to have stuff that's uncomfortable show up. And the key, and I tell my students and clients this all the time, the key is to change our relationship to these sensations that are uncomfortable, because life is uncomfortable. And how we respond to uncomfortable situations is our power, essentially. So what we're doing when we're doing breath work is the nervous system and the sensory system is going on. So we start to awaken senses in our body, and we're like, I'm not really sure if that's good. I'm not really, and the mind races on trying to figure out what's going on. But really, it's like the body is activating, and it's preparing you for saying, hey, you're designed for this. The human body is designed to handle high volumes of electricity, high volumes of pressure. So as we activate that capacity within us, how we show up in the world significantly changes. Your workout gets better, whether it's swimming, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's sports. You're more effective in communication processes because you can hear what's not being said, not just in your physical dimensional experience. And it's so big because if you think about it, we've been taught that we're 5 sensory beings, but we're not. We're multisensory. And when we can start operating in the world as a multisensory being, we've activated a superpower that belongs to every one of us. And everybody on this call can do it just by learning to breathe. And it's not just a deep breath, Jacques. It's actually so many people have so much blockages in their rib cage and lungs and belly that a deep breath isn't enough right now. Like, yes, it is, but one needs to learn how to take a deep breath. Most people have so much restriction, a deep breath won't do it for them. So there's some clearing breath, some things to shed some of the internal blockages so you can start to feel yourself again. So you're like, wow, I'm alive. You know, I'm a living, breathing, alive mechanism, and I influence the world, not just let the world influence me.
I'm like off the chair and like I'm just amazed because it's like going back to those mental experiences when you get the aha moment and you're bringing it to life. And I could imagine what these listeners are going through right now.
Yes.
This is why I waited so long to bring you here. I mean, I'm so grateful to have you on this line right now because this is what people need to hear. And this ties into what I feel my mission and calling is with this organization, is to bring experts like yourself and other people around the world need to hear this. Because as you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to do so much. And you will sometimes not have all the energy and time to do all the other things because you're at service. You're bringing a lot to people. But who's there, helping and amplifying you as a person?
Is that a question you're asking, or is that just like a statement that we all need to help us amplify?
But also you can answer the question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, I mean, as an entrepreneur, I've always had mentors, people that I've matched and modeled and followed. When it comes to the health space, I've been inspired to really get this information out there because I don't see the complete story of what's taking place. Like, people want to make substances good or bad. We want to say, oh, this food is good, this food is bad, or this practice is good or this practice is bad. And one of the fundamental things I teach is that really nothing is good or bad. It's our relationship to these things. Yeah. And if we don't cultivate a relationship first and foremost within ourselves, if we don't learn to quiet our mind and find out what our own internal operating system is doing, then we'll never be able to figure out what our relationship to other things are, whether it's people, a business, a food, a workout. So the first step is cultivating this deep understanding of how does our wiring work. Why does this thing turn you on and this thing turn you off? Why does this person, flick your switch and make you, want to short circuit, and this other person you're magnetized by? Like, what's in that? And if we can learn to break these things down, we start to get essentially a blueprint of our own housing system, just like a house has a blueprint of all the electrical wires that run through it. And they have circuit breakers. So if there's too much electricity running through it, the circuit breaker will flip off. Well, the human body doesn't have circuit breakers. So we've got to become self-responsible. We've got to start understanding our individual story and start resolving this within ourselves, clearing out the old, outdated cache and cookies so that your computer system runs more effectively. You know, then we change our playing field, meaning if we're playing at one level and we want to go to the next level, we don't have to effort that so much. We just magnetize that because we become aware of how we play and we start plugging in to systems and people and ways of being that are succinct with the where we want to go versus where we've been, you know?
Yes. I love it. And so what we do for our guests is we always want to share their personal experience, but another thing what we want to do is, you know, asking our guests what is the next things for them, and so how we can help them get to that next level, you know, adding that extra, like you said, the extra power and energy to amplify, you know, anything that energy that you're working on. And so if you can share that with us, we would love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple just basic suggestions, and number one is we need to disconnect from our machinery, and we have to learn to connect within ourselves every day. And if that's 2 minutes, then it's 2 minutes. And I always say, you know, I'd rather see you do 2 minutes of internal connecting every day.
Reboot.
And it's a certain breath with a posture, which I can't show on this podcast. But I teach this as a technique. One of the things I could share in terms of a simple breath that everybody should do every day is through the mouth. Like if you tighten your mouth like you were sipping through a straw, and you inhale 4 times, exhale 4 times. Do this for 2 minutes a day. So it's like this. So you're counting 4 in and you're counting 4 out. Within a minute, you're going to start having your body electrifying. Like you're going to feel the electricity coursing through the system. And this is really important because what it's going to do, this is an instant stress reducer. This will instantly clear out blockages that are all throughout the rib cage, the heart, the lungs. And this is our power source. So if we can clear out the old corrosion, it's like literally clearing out the cache and the cookies so that every time you go on the internet, your body, your computer system is operating at a fast speed. You want your system to do that so that when you go out and face your day and you have to interact and give and serve and take care of all these other people, you've plugged into your source first.
Yes.
And one of the hardest things we'll ever do is learn to cultivate time and space for ourselves.
Ooh,
so what I'll say to the listeners is, as you do this, as you attempt to make time for yourself, it's so common to come up with 1,001 reasons why not. And that's just because your system is wired that way right now. And all you're doing is rewiring. So don't beat yourself up because you come up with amazing ways not to show up for yourself. Just notice it. Just like I said, notice how often you don't know you're breathing. Notice how well you come up with mechanisms to give to other people, to take care of other people, to do things instead of to be with yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing so many wonderful nuggets here today. And so we would love to hear how we can be, the support for your personal career. And what are you working on?
Yeah, for sure. I teach a simple Tuesday breath practice. I call it Tune In to You Tuesdays. So every Tuesday I offer a different breath practice that you can do in 2 to 3 minutes. And some sort of a technique that just helps you plug into yourself and unplug from this craziness around us. Because, the world is a crazy place right now. And to pretend that it's not means we're in denial. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to strengthen our inner system so that we can meet the pressure of the world with more potent pressure out than any pressure in towards us. And
Yes.
how we do that is we got to start learning some of these simple techniques to rewire our nervous system. So every Tuesday I offer free breath practice. I have free broadcasts on Sunday on my YouTube channel. So the best way listeners can get a hold of me is at my website, which is GuruNischan.com, or currencyofpower.org. Currencyofpower.org. And
you just are amazing. Amazing. You are.
Yeah. Thank you. It's true.
Yes.
It's true. And then I'll say, what I'm doing now is I'm looking for more opportunities to really speak and teach in different forums and businesses and companies where I really am teaching how do we harness the stress and pressure of our lives to use it to enhance our health and to enhance our achievement, as opposed to the counterproductive aspect of that. So oftentimes we look at stress and pressure as like something we're trying to avoid. And the truth is, it takes pressure to create diamonds. So if we can use pressure to our advantage, we're all just a diamond in the rough. And we need to literally harness the stress and the pressure of our planet, and the pressure of our lives, and the pressure of our work and our family, and use that like a pressure cooker, because that's how the human body is designed. You don't even have to learn this stuff. You just have to remember how to use it. And most people have never even understood that their whole body is made for this. So what I'll say is, it doesn't take as long as you think. You start doing this, and before you know it, all of your instinct mechanisms, your body knows how to do this. You just have to practice to remind it what it knows how to do already.
Yes, I love it because those practices and all these nuggets you shared is something that we love to mirror. And basically, one of the things that we've learned from doing this these last few months is that, most of the experts are really good at being experts. And where we come in is hold experts accountable and have them use all those things that they know, and we mirror and reflect it on them. And it's been working. Like we've held them accountable, and we made them look in the mirror, and we made them realize that they can really use all those gifts to grow exponentially.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Yes. And having more outlets for people to, it's like creating these bridges, it's really helping these experts and helping the masses who need the information, connecting these two. And I think that's really beautiful about the work you're doing, is creating a platform, because it doesn't matter how much you know if you can't deliver it to the people who need the information.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, so exactly.
I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful for your platform and just having met you, and then after all these years reconnecting and
the value.
Listeners,
the value.
Yeah, the value. And we're all on social media, like everything from my website. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all those things, and people can connect through my website and on my email list. But more importantly, it's about, getting out into the field and connecting with people and letting people know these resources exist. Because how do you know where to go unless you know where to go, right?
Yes. Oh, wise. You're so wise.
Oh, wow. My name is GuruNischan for a reason, right? It's so funny. Just living up to the power of my name, I guess.
Yes. Oh, man. You've been the most conscious. Oh, man. I love it. This is why we waited so long, listeners, because we brought the best of the best to serve the world. And you're ready to have it. You are the first to ever have an exclusive with the Global Changer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.